Big Sky City Lights. When I figured out where you guys are from respectively, I really got the name a little bit more. But could you tell me how you guys started this band?
We were a COVID baby. She was locked down in New York City in her apartment, and I was here in the Flathead, and we had known each other for years, and she reached out during the pandemic and said, "I'm going crazy, let's do something." And so we started doing cover songs and releasing them on social media.
People love them. They still come up to us and talk about that time and how important it was. And I don't know, I think that when things kind of blow up and you have to find a new avenue, a lot of artists at that particular time, as well as everyone else, went online. Mm-hmm. So for us to be able to work together at such a great distance never seemed possible before, and after COVID, it just kind of became our lives.
Yeah. So you were in New York City at the time?
Mm-hmm.
And are you in Whitefish? Or?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how was that working across a distance like that?
It's a brutal commute.
When we started, we were lucky enough to have the gift of my now husband and I, moved here for about 1.5 years. So we were able to work on our first album in person. But since then, I'm back in New York, and so we've had to kind of maneuver this journey together, writing from a distance and getting together for tours and chunks of time where we work furiously and then we're apart again. I think there's something really beautiful to it in the sense that the creativity has time on its side, and it's also, you're really getting two different, distinct cultures, generations, and viewpoints that are coming together to create this music, which is different than I think a lot of bands.
Yeah, so something that might be on paper a weakness and ends up bringing this this unsuspected gift of distance and time and mindfulness and I love the stuff we're writing now way more than the stuff we wrote.
It's also grit, it's a lot of perseverance to make it work, and we have a lot of that.
Yeah. Well, your voices together are so special. When I was listening to your music, I was like, I just wonder the moment where you guys sang together and you're like, oh, this is really something. Can you tell me about that?
It's interesting because we did a lot of things together, mainly in the theater world and holiday concerts, and we were never really paired together because I think people who know both of our voices individually just thought, well, that wouldn't work, and it really does, which is interesting that we were never really...
We never sang together.
And we sang together in groups of 5, 6 people.
Well, and I sang backup on a couple of your songs that you recorded.
Some solo recordings, but never in a way that was Simon and Garfunkel, boom, boom, boom. I don't know when we realized that. Maybe when we did our first cover song and put it out on the social media, everyone else kind of did it for us. They were like, wow, weird.
I don't think it's something that you really can take in when it's happening. I mean, now we can look back at it and I can go, oh, yes, that makes sense. His voice sounds like a reed, mine sounds like a cello. They intersect in this beautiful way. But at the time, you're just trying to create something and you're going with the momentum. And so I don't think we really thought about it, except that we were having fun and it felt really good. And so we just kept doing it. And it kind of just bloomed in front of our eyes. And the feedback we got and the momentum we had as two personalities together, very passionate people. Mm-hmm. So it kind of just exploded.
Yeah. Well, I want to touch on all the great music you guys have made since you got together, but I also want to learn a little bit about what you were doing before. So how did you guys meet? What's your backstory there?
So we both met we were both in a production in Whitefish, a punk rock musical, Hedwig and the Angry Inch.
Oh yeah.
We were both part of that, and
I got hired out of New York. That was my first job here in Whitefish. I'd never been to Montana before, and Nick was one of the first people I met here. Mm-hmm. And he directed me.
Oh, okay.
And since then, it's the opposite.
Cool. So you were doing professional theater
In New York.
in New York, and you were looking. What made you want to look outside of New York?
Well, I love traveling, and I love regional theater, but in particular, Hedwig and the Angry Inch was just a show that I loved with my whole heart, and no one ever does it, and I've been waiting for an opportunity, and so I went on a whim, because you never see that audition. I didn't even think I really paid attention to where it was, but I went on a whim, and I auditioned, and yeah. And then I have been coming back to Montana ever since, because it's kind of hard not to fall in love with this place. So
yeah, it'll keep reeling you back, no matter where you're from, right? So what theater company did you guys do that with?
Alpine Theater Project.
Okay, I get some of them confused. We have a lot of really great theater companies here, so it's kind of hard to keep track of all of them.
For sure.
Well, cool. So right after you guys got together during the pandemic, I saw in 2021 you put out an album.
Yeah.
So you kind of hit the recording booth kind of fast. What was the production of that album like?
We were fortunate to record it at Snow Ghost Studios, which is temporarily taking a hiatus right now, but it's a fabulous studio locally here, and so much amazing equipment, and Brett Allen, amazing expertise. Who knows it's wonderful to have a great equipment. It's also wonderful when you have someone who knows how to use it. He's got a great ear and a wonderful aesthetic and a great sense of humor, and it was a wonderful process.
We were really lucky.
Yeah.
I feel like I say that a lot because of how we started, but we were doing these covers, and Nick is a great person to do any sort of collaboration with, because he jumps in with both feet. So he was like, let's write together. And I'd only ever written by myself, and never in a capacity where I was really releasing my songs to the public. So I was pretty nervous about that. And he just said, we're going to do it. And so we met, a couple times a week, and we ended up writing this album, and we got Brett to engineer it. And he kind of had a bit of a producer's aesthetic, in the sense that he really guided us in the recording of it, because we came in not knowing what we wanted this to sound like, not knowing much of what we were doing in terms of aesthetic of the two of us together. And he would say things like, you need to change this key, or do it again, or I don't think this tempo's right. So he was really helpful initially in us carving out that sound. And then I have to mention our actual producer, Benedict Braxton Smith, who took those recordings and then made a lot of the magic of our album happen. And he was an amazing musician, is an amazing musician, and was an incredible person to work with on that album.
Yeah, it's really blind luck that Brett's approach to recording and producing within the studio during the recording process, as far as instrumentation and tempos, and the fact that he had an aesthetic that worked so well with what Benedict does, is completely blind luck.
Yeah, we were blessed.
Yeah, we were super blessed, and that album still, it floats. There's just something about it. It's wonderful. I love it. I don't get tired of listening to it.
Yeah, the music collaborations, at least, outside looking in, it does seem sometimes like a miracle when things just really jive right. And so it is pretty cool that without really knowing each other, they're able to work together so well. So have you guys been in any other bands before you started performing together, or were you mostly stage performers?
We were both in other bands,
yeah. We're Renaissance people, so we, I think, have both meandered in and out of theater. I'm hired often as a professional vocalist. I played in an all-female bluegrass band for a little while with two girls from Montana.
Oh, cool.
But in New York.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the Brooke sisters, Kendra, Jo, and Brittany, started a group called the Snowy Mountain Sisters, based on their home. And yeah, we performed all over New York City. They're still a group. They have amazing musicians come in and out and are a part of that community. So the Snowy Mountain Sisters are a wonderful band.
And I was in a band in high school, original band, and then more recently I was in a 1980s cover band called New Wave Time Trippers that we closed
very
up shop.
famous.
Oh yeah, we're huge in Quorum. Check it out. But we closed up shop about 2 years ago. We all still love each other, but we were like, it had been 8 or 9 years, and we were like, okay, there's only so many times you can play Jesse's Girl.
Yeah. Man, so wait a second. I'm having a flashback. Did you play New Year's Eve at the Great Northern?
Yep.
In 2020?
Yep.
That was their
That
last
was
show.
you. I was there, and it was crazy because it was so crowded in there. It was January. And, just a few months later, I was like, I don't know if I'll ever be in a room that crowded ever again. At least at that time, it seemed that way. But that was...
It's pretty crowded.
Yeah.
In our last show, I think we almost broke the floor. Luckily, they reinforced the floor because it's our last show and we've been around for a while, and it was a good time.
Yeah.
And I think it really, Marco, who was the drummer, always said we're army training for something just by doing these 4-hour shows, and you never know what you're army training for, but I think it was for this.
Yeah, because you guys have done some pretty big performances.
Well, just to keep up with her, especially vocally, it's like, woof.
Yeah.
No joke.
Because you guys have performed at Under the Big Sky.
Mm-hmm. We just did Red Ants Pants.
Oh, cool.
Which was fun. And we did Sisters Folk Festival, too.
Where's the Sisters Folk Festival?
Sisters, Oregon.
Oh,
beautiful.
It's a wonderful organization, and they just take such good care of their artists and have a wonderful venues and audiences, and it's just a great local thing that they have in Sisters, for sure.
Cool. Again, is that like a folk festival type of? Did you say folk festival in the title?
Yeah.
Oh yes.
Okay. Well then, yeah.
Well,
that
but
would give
it's
me the
loose. I mean, they do all kinds of stuff like the Montana Folk Festival in Butte. It's like some of it's folk music, some of it's world music, some of it's all over the map. So.
Yeah, but those regional folk festivals, they're usually pretty fun.
Oh, it was a scream. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd love to go to the one in Butte someday. That'd be really cool. Let's see here. So you guys put out that album in 2021. When you guys started this project, did you think that it would get this kind of momentum, that you'd be doing these projects like that?
No.
No.
It really just kind of came by surprise, and I think changed both of our lives pretty significantly in terms of where our focus was artistically, and just trying to ride that momentum and the power of what we do, and do it for as long as we possibly can.
Yeah. And we have that added challenge of not living in the same place, which is no joke. I mean, that's daunting. Mm-hmm. From a writing perspective, from how long are we not going to be in the same place? And if we aren't, when we do come back together for a run of shows, we need a certain amount of moment before for rehearsal to remember what we do. You take like a month off or something, and then you're like, oh, wow, how does this go? So it's got its own unique challenges for sure.
Yeah. So how often do you visit Whitefish? Like, how often do you guys get to see each other in person?
I've been visiting a lot.
Because we're in the process of recording and finishing up an EP, about 5 or 6 songs, and so that requires being in the same place.
But I've always kind of been here in the summer and the winter, in like staggering amounts of time, and since this band, I've definitely made it like more of a year-round thing for chunks of weeks at a time. This summer has been a long one because we're lucky enough to have a lot of touring dates, which is great. Mm-hmm. But my husband misses me.
Right.
And your dog.
And my dog.
When's your next break? When do you get to go back?
Actually, I'm going back on Monday for 2 weeks, and then I'll be back in September for the whole month.
Nice.
And we got a run of shows out here in central Montana and Washington in September. So
Nice. Very cool. So you got a new EP coming out. Tell me a little bit about that.
It's interesting. I think stylistically it's just us finding our groove. Where like the first was kind of let's write together, see what happens, and I think that album sounds very magical and sparkly, but it sounds very insular, which I think is indicative of just the lockdown. This one feels a little more expansive, more of a bloom to it, a little more upbeat, for sure.
Yeah, I think it's like any sophomore project where like the first one is kind of like you throw out like what you think this is, right? Mm-hmm. Without much of a thought, and the second one, we've had the ability to sit and marinate in what we're doing, and I think write stuff and hone in on a sound that feels good and right to us, and also, see the path forward.
I think there's advantages and disadvantages to both, though. There's a power in not knowing what this is and going splat because you don't have time to think.
Yeah.
And creativity can come through without the editing process. But the good thing about a second project is that we were able to see a direction and actually steer a ship. So pros and cons,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah, and I think that some of the songs on our new album were that. They were just kind of like splat. Here's the song, and they came out really quickly. And others took a little more time. The EP is entitled "A Mountain to Go," which is a lyric from one of the bigger songs on the album that we just released as a single called "The Road," and that's kind of our anthem about what it's like to have a bunch of doors closed and open a window and have another road or a journey to go down, and that's I think how we feel. And we have a mountain to go, but we're on the journey.
Yeah. That's cool. Can you tell me about like the when it comes to like the lyrics and the meanings of the song? Can you touch on like some of the other inspirations you guys drew from for the album?
Oh yeah. I think a lot of people have felt this way, but the past few years have been like nuts. And there's I think a lot of processing on that. We write a lot of love songs because we're a duo, and because love songs are, there's just so many different ways you can write a love song.
Yeah, it could be like parent-child, romantic love song,
right,
brotherly love, whatever. Yeah, it's universal. So.
But we've encountered some loss in our lives, and some grief, and some excitement, and just like I think the album or the EP explores what it means to be an artist, what it means to fall in love with possibility, what it means to lose someone, and what it means to love someone forever.
Cool. I love those songs, especially when they don't just focus on romantic love, when they go through the gambit.
Well, was it Tom Waits or maybe Nick Cave? Somebody said that the best songs are either about, what did they say, God, love, sex, or death. And the best ones are about all of them at the same time.
Yeah.
But if you can write on that multi-dimensional layer, usually it's not a conscious decision. Usually it's like this background thing, and the unseen hand of the universe is helping you out in writing it. And then it can apply to your life. I love when you hear a song and you're like simultaneously saying, what does that mean? And also, I know what it means here, but not here necessarily. That's a wonderful, powerful thing that I think I like, that attracts me to love songs for sure.
Yeah. So, when's the album coming out? Do you know?
October 25th.
Oh, very cool. All right.
So soon.
Yeah, so it's soon. So the album's coming out. What's next after that for you guys?
I don't know.
Some time off in the winter?
Definitely time off.
Time off.
We've been performing and writing and producing at a breakneck pace. And we're still writing. So, and everything we write, I love more and more. So I'm excited about that. Putting together some touring for the spring. I should mention, because our EP is coming out, where we are right now, which is we are at Beargrass Studios. And we were lucky enough to have Ross Bridgman produce a couple of the tracks on this EP.
As well as play keyboards on the
yes.
tracks, and he's masterful.
Yes.
Wonderful.
A wonderful human, and we're really lucky. So when you're listening to the EP that's coming out, you're listening to not just us, but a lot of wonderful local musicians who have given their time, their heart, and their artistry to us over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
And we wouldn't be able to do this without them.
Yeah. Well, this is a unique part of Montana. There's so many amazing artists, artisans, photographers, journalists. Like, it just attracts people, who are great at what they do.
Yeah, we have a lot of really great musicians and bands over here.
For sure.
Yeah,
You had just done an interview, I think, with Mike Murray.
Yeah.
And he produced actually one of the tracks on our album as well.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah, the first one we released, and he's wonderful.
Yeah,
wonderful human being.
Yeah, he's super nice. I also know Ross.
Oh, yeah.
Well, and Jill.
They're great.
They're awesome. They're really fun. All right, you guys. Well, I think I might cut it there, but just in case, is there anything that I didn't ask about that you think we should touch on?
My shirt. It's from Toggery. Do you like it?
It is really nice.
Yeah.
That's pulling out some notes of pink from the dress. Yeah, where did you get your dress?
This is for Love and Lemons.
Oh, I love For Love and Lemons.
Me too.
I'm always looking at their website.
This I got on a major sale. I'm just saying, you gotta stock it at the right time.
This is funny. I have that exact dress, and I'm so glad I didn't wear it for this interview because I would have really embarrassed me.
I do want to say that actually, if people are looking to follow us or see any of the stuff that we're doing besides the EP coming out in October, we're all over Instagram, YouTube, TikTok. Our website has all of our dates, and we have a mailing list that people can find on our website, and that is a really great way to stay in touch, get early releases for tickets. We're going to do a big EP release so they can get the early release on tickets and things like that. So I definitely think the mailing list is key if you want to keep up with us.
Yeah, awesome. Well, thank you guys.
Thank you so much.